Well, hello, welcome back. We're going through creation. We're talking about questions and answers that you can use to teach your children about God, about truth, about the Bible. Well, this time we're working through questions on creation. Yesterday we asked three simple questions. We asked, who created everything? We know God created the world and everything else in the universe. Why did he create everything? We know that God created everything for his glory. And how did God create everything? And we know that God created everything by his spoken word. And we've got two more questions we're going to look at today. We've got a few more, well, really several over the next couple weeks, but just two that we're going to look at today. The first of the two that we're looking at for today is, in what condition was everything God created? And so God created everything. We know that. So what was the condition? Because there's arguments about this. There's arguments that sin existed from the very beginning. But when we look at Scripture, especially Genesis 2, we see when God finished creating, and on the seventh day he rested, we notice he says something that's very interesting. He looked over all that he had created, and behold, it was not just good, as everything else he said was good. He looked over everything and said, behold, it was very good. Well, how can you have very good if it's already flawed? So clearly, there was no sin in the picture yet. So that sin took place after God made that statement. So what was the condition in which God made everything? So again, the question is, in what condition was everything God created? Here's the answer. God created everything perfectly good. Now, I know that sounds strange to our ears. In English, we would say he did it well, but understand what he's talking about. This is the condition of everything. Everything was good. Good is not talking about how well he did things. It's talking about the condition. So again, God created everything perfectly good. That's why he could look out over all that he created and said, behold, it is very good. It was perfectly good. And everything that God created was great. Now, we're going to talk about sin in the next series. But for right now, we're talking about creation, and it was great. Everything was perfectly good. So again, one more time, and I know we're being pretty repetitive in these videos, and ultimately that's because I believe repetition equals retention. We want our children to learn. So one more time, in what condition was everything God created? God created everything perfectly good. Now here's another question we're going to spend a little bit of time on, and it's got a little bit longer of an answer than what we're used to so far. And so here's the question: how does God rule over his creation? And remember, when we talked about God, we talked about him being omniscient, omnipotent. We talked about it being immutable. We talked about him being sovereign. Okay, so here, how does God rule over his creation? God rules over his creation perfectly with loving care according to his purposes. I'm going to repeat that. God rules over his creation perfectly and with loving care according to his purposes. What was his purpose? Go back to yesterday's video. Why did God create everything? God created everything for his glory. So how does he rule over everything? Knowing that everything was created for his glory, he rules over everything perfectly and with loving care according to that purpose. That purpose is to bring glory to himself. How does he bring glory to himself? Well, by ordaining and preordaining things to happen in such a way that people bring glory to him. He reveals himself to people. We talked about general revelation, special revelation in some of the earlier videos. So God revealed himself to all people through creation. He's revealed himself to people, to his people, through his word. And what was the purpose in that? To make us like Christ. Why? Because when we are more like Christ, we are bringing more glory to himself. Now the question is, why doesn't he just save everyone? Because if he would save everyone, then everyone could bring him glory and everybody would be happy and there wouldn't be any sadness. Well, because there are rules. We have sinned, so we need to return back to him. There are many, most, who don't return back to him. There are most people, most who have ever existed, have turned away from him completely. Their hearts have been hardened and they do not choose him. They don't return to him. They don't come to him. Why? Because their hearts are hidden to the point that they don't recognize their need for Jesus. Or maybe they do recognize their need, but they're unwilling to come to him. So what happens? Well, there's coming a day when every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord, that he is the sovereign King above kings, Lord above lords. There is none like him. So there's coming a day when God will receive glory from everyone. Now, from his followers, he receives greater glory because in this state right now, in our personal daily lives, we can regularly be bringing him glory. How? By using the tools, the resources, and the creation that God has blessed us with so that we can share his love with others. How are we able to love? We're able to love because he's shown us. He has showed us his love. He has taught us what love is. God created everything for his glory, and he rules over everything perfectly and with loving care according to his purposes. I hope you're able to share that with your children, maybe tonight or this week. We have some more videos coming up tomorrow and then again on Thursday, and I hope to see you then. Have a great day.